Thank you so much for coming on the show, Dr. Shanks. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, maybe the 2-minute bio of how you got to do this interesting work that you do?
Oh, wow. Do you have an hour or two? No, it's been a strange and interesting and wonderful journey from, this naive girl who wanted to become a medicine woman and thought she could do that by going to a conventional Western medical school. But what a beautiful dream, right? And I think it guided me through all the
Mm,
trials and tribulations and traumas of being a medical student, of being a medical trainee, of being a doctor in this system, and then learning that everything that I learned really didn't apply to the people I was working with out in the community. I trained as an internist, so I went out into the community to do primary care and help people with chronic illness and chronic complex illness. And I had to start over because,
mm,
our conventional Western medicine isn't about holding the whole person and supporting the whole person in their healing journey. And so, yeah, I had to retrain. I trained in functional medicine, integrative medicine. I changed my whole practice. I sort of went off the grid, left my conventional practice and started my own, in which there were no time parameters for people. Like new patients could get 3 or 4 hours if they needed it, if they were, you know, and I attracted a patient population that were very chronic, complex, completely slipped through the cracks,
mm,
needed somebody to support them in a very different way, in a very whole person way. And that's what I've been doing for my career. And somewhere along the line, I just got the bee in my bonnet, or the passion, the absolute need to write about what I learned from these folks and what
mm,
they told me their needs were, and what I learned about myself through my own health journeys about what we actually need in our healing,
mhm.
what we're actually looking for.
I
How's
think
that?
I love that. And I think it's so, it really applies to what we're talking about a lot this season is we're talking about being as we age and moving into our fifth decade and beyond, and how we want to live and who we want to be and how we want to show up. And I think it's really hard to live your best life, live your healthiest. We have all these sayings if you're not healed or you're not processing, healing. And I know so many physicians, specifically women physicians, which is who I coach. It might happen. It probably happens in men too. I just don't have that experience. Um, that don't take time to process trauma at all. And medicine, the practice of medicine, or any, I would say, any area of work where you are really in a male dominated kind of patriarchal system is a bunch of small serial traumas. um, I look back at some of the things that have happened to me in my medical career, and I just think I don't even know that I've told anybody about that. This whole thing happened, and it was like I just went to work the next day, or I witnessed this terrible, horrible thing, and I just stuffed it down and I cried in the closet for like 5 minutes, and then I went to the next case. Or, oh, I experienced sexual harassment, or, really terrible treatment for being a woman. And I felt shame about it, and I hid it and I pushed it down.
Yeah,
And I've never even talked about it publicly. And
right.
so when we get kind of older and we start to age and we look back and we realize, like, wow, that was not okay. Like, I have not dealt with that. What is like the first process to kind of healing? Because a lot of times I don't even want to talk about it to somebody because I'm like, I don't want to go back to that place. I don't want to tell that ugly story. I don't want to feel those shame feelings again. But yet
Right.
I know I should. So what do you do? How do you help people kind of process initially?
So I think what you're talking about is that when we get into our 50s, And it tends to be that age. Maybe it's because we have more space and time to think about these things, to process these things. The children are grown, et cetera. But someone told me recently that it's at this age that our corpus callosum, the connections between the two sides of the brain, we actually grow new connections there. So
Mm,
we start to see things in this more expansive way. It's like
mm,
there's this physical aspect of this new stage of our life. But I think that's what you're talking about, is how not only are we responsible, the healing is occurring to at some level, but we get into our 50s and we realize, oh, I'm responsible for all this. I'm not a passive participant in my life.
mm,
This is
mhm,
my responsibility. And this stuff I feel, the shame, the sadness, the grief that didn't get completely processed, this needs my attention. And this has been this has been an experience, and this is a process that limits me in my life and limits my potential. And I need to connect to this part of myself and figure out what I need, and
mhm,
somehow shift the story from everybody's else's needs are more important than mine to, wow, my needs are important, and my need to grieve, my need to feel terrible about something maybe that's happening in the workplace, about feeling betrayed by a workplace, a system narrative that is wrong, that hurts
mhm,
people. I need to really get clear about what it is I'm experiencing and honor how I'm perceiving things and the story that I think is operating in my life.
mm. Yeah. That I love how you phrase that as being a willing participant, because I think that one of the reflections that I have learned is no one is coming to save me, and no one is coming to tell me to take care of myself. like like I am now at an age where I have to really take care of myself. I have a really good morning routine that I love. But as I've gotten older, I know now I have to stretch longer. I have to warm up longer before I lift weights. I have to put more time in. I have to sleep better. I can't have a glass of wine and expect it not to affect my sleep. So I just have to take care of myself in a more focused and way and responsible way than I did in my 30s and my 40s. But at
Yeah.
the same time, it's like this awareness that I think I always thought, well, someday when I'm older and I have time, I'll focus on my health and I'll take care of myself and I'll practice healing and I'll, and nobody is coming to do that for you. Like if you don't do it for yourself, it's it's not happening. And
Right.
so I would love to kind of hear how you describe someone's own personal agency in the healing process. Like, how important is that? Because I coach a lot of women who sometimes can fall into victim mode, and I often don't want to make them feel worse by calling that out, but at the same time I want them to feel like they are empowered and have the self agency to heal.
Yeah, and I think that sort of names the problem, is that they don't feel empowered, right? Like that's been taken away from them. They don't know that they deserve that, are capable of that. People don't even know their just incredible untapped potential to heal, to have that agency. But yeah, it's really key to growth, to evolution. We have to be able to identify what we need and ask for what we need. That's how I see agency. So you asked me, how do we start that process? How do
Yeah.
we claim that agency? I think first step is learning to connect with ourselves, learning to have self awareness, and I think learning to be present. And I think that's a skill we have to learn. I think we're born with it. It's like we innately are so connected to all our aspects, right? Children have no problem being embodied and expressing their feelings and owning their feelings, but it's programmed out of us. So we have to, I think our first order of business is to learn and begin to utilize practices that get us back in touch with who we are and examine our stories, examine the stories that come up as we begin a presence practice, because they will, the feelings, the stories. Um, it's not for the faint of heart to become present, because as soon as we start to check in with ourselves, we notice and feel our feelings. And, a lot of
Yeah.
very powerful and uncomfortable stuff comes up that
Yeah.
requires our attention. And that's
Mhm.
the beauty. That's the beauty of it too. It can be really uncomfortable to become present and self-aware because we're
Mhm.
feeling things, but what we feel we can heal. And
Mm.
that leads to empowerment. When we learn how much personal control we have over our destiny, it's not locked in.
I love that. I love what you just said. What we feel, we can heal.
Hmm.
Um, okay, so this is what I get all the time. I coach high achieving, busy women, and I will tell them, I want you to spend 15 minutes this week every day in the morning by yourself. And they don't want that. They don't want to be alone in their thoughts. And I force them to do this. I encourage them to do it. And a lot of times they'll say, like, that was terrible. I sat there and just cried for 15 minutes, or I was so anxious the whole time that I couldn't even ask myself the questions that you wanted me to ask myself in journal, because it's so much easier to get on the phone and doom scroll, or to get on and do a task, or throw in a load of laundry, or empty the dishwasher or something, than to be alone with ourselves.
That's right.
And I think this is like one of those signals to me. It's like a red flag. Like, if being alone within your thoughts and with yourself for 15, 20, 30 minutes is terrifying, what does that signal? What does that mean for us when we do not want to be with ourselves?
Right. That we've disconnected. Like there are feelings and experiences that are so maybe shame based, fear based, um, guilt ridden. There's so much suffering associated with them. It's just so wildly uncomfortable. And we've learned to reject what's uncomfortable.
Mm,
We do
hmm.
that, and I think that's really obvious by one the resistance to getting quiet and to hearing and to like what is in here, what is going on, but also our kind of furious uh, you know, diving into distractions or addiction
Yeah,
to distractions, the
yeah,
like the phone, the email notifications, the everything, right?
yeah,
Uh, we we don't know how to just be.
yeah.
We are all about doing. And that I know that's cultural, familial, intergenerational trauma to the millionth degree. That is so harmful, so insidious that we don't even see it. We're just moving, 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 doing, not even stopping to process what the hell we're doing, you know?
Uh-huh. And this is a learned behavior. I think it's really important if you're listening
Yeah.
and you are identifying with that and you're like, "Oh, that's me. I go from task to task to task and
Yes.
list, and I don't give myself space to think about what's going on with me, or how I'm feeling, or how I'm doing mentally, physically. I don't think about things like my legacy or my future. I'm just doing tasks because it's so uncomfortable." That is a learned behavior, and oftentimes we learn that from our maternal figure, or who our parents.
Sure.
Certainly this is something I learned from my mom. I remember my mom always saying, "I want to go for a walk. I need to take a walk. I need to go take a walk." And I remember being a child and thinking, "Go take a walk." Like, and I have told my mother this. We've had this discussion, and she's like, "I did not realize how I was teaching you girls, I have four sisters, just to keep working and just ignore your own needs." And
Yes,
and
yes,
she's
yes.
like, "You're right. I taught you that because you watched me do that." And she was a stay-at-home mom. My dad traveled and worked Monday through Friday, so he was off and gone. So she was a solo mom all week. And she would just never have time to do what she loved, which was go on a little nature walk every day. And I would get angry at her as a child because I would just be like, just go walk. Who cares that there's dishes or who cares that there's this,
Right, right.
But she taught that to me because sure enough, like I have kids, and what do I find myself 10 years into medicine, totally burned out, doing all the things, feeling like all I want to do is go work out. I never have time to work out, where I have again am doing this role and I lack the agency or the awareness to see I have the agency to go do what I want to do and to really put up those boundaries. So I think it's
Sure.
such a red flag if you're listening and you're like, oh, that's me. I don't want to spend any time by myself. And I don't I don't think that I have the agency that I truly have.
Yeah, but
So
they do, they do. They just have to it's a skill set. That's
yeah,
it. It's a skill set. We've learned this one way of being, and we are validated for it. It is considered to be a successful way to live in our culture, right? So
uh-huh,
it doesn't just come from our immediate, role models, but the whole culture is behind that way of living. It's capitalism. It's your success is defined by your productivity, what you do, what you accomplish, right?
right.
It's poisoned us all. It's poisoned everybody.
Yes.
Even if your parents, were hippies and went with the flow, I think that that's something that poisons all of us. And it's so worth our paying attention to, and so challenging because we feel safe in all that doing, don't we? We feel
Yeah.
really safe there, and it's really scary to sit and do nothing, you
Yeah,
know?
and I think that, we just have such a push for production. And it
Yes.
feels good to check things off lists and not
Yeah.
to and just do the next thing and not to be and really be.
Right.
I'm getting ready to hold a retreat. I hold this retreat every January, and this year I am doing something different that I've not done, and I'm having the women call and have calls with them before the retreat. And Karyn, the whole reason I'm doing that is because I tell them every time, come and turn off your phones and turn off your computer. And it takes at least a half a day for them to actually do it. So
Yeah.
I'm having them come up with a plan to shut down before they get on the plane
Yes.
because it's so hard for people to actually even just say, I'm going away for the weekend and I'm not going to be accessible to everyone and their mother. And
Right.
I'm taking time for myself. I'm doing self reflection. So it's
Right.
interesting. Like I've even had to change how I lead retreats because this
Yeah.
pressure to just constantly do.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm curious because you work in this, you've helped so many people through the healing process and chronic complex illness. I see a lot of women who are having migraines, GI issues,
Mm-hmm.
chronic illness, stress, high blood
Mm-hmm.
pressure, anxiety, and it is I know that it's stress,
Mm-hmm.
it is unhealed trauma,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I see this all the time. Like, I for the person listening that is like, oh, I don't have any illness. I'm not a chronic illness person, yet they have chronic headaches, migraine, anxiety, all these things.
Right.
Clearly, our life and the way that we live our life and our unhealed trauma plays a role there. What do
Absolutely.
you say to that woman, like to start to unpack that?
Well, first to make it clear that there is a connection, and we know this, like this is in our science. This has been investigated. We know that there's a direct connection between high levels of stress and anxiety and unhealed trauma and the whole gamut of chronic illnesses. It's just a fact, and if you think about it, it really makes sense because that unhealed trauma, that high level of stress, that has a biology
Oh, yeah.
that is really it's I call it survival biology. A lot of things get ramped up. It blows through a lot of our resources just to maintain feeling that way day after day after day. And um, the priority of the body is to move to safety. So it will divert all of our attention, our resources, our energy toward achieving safety. Um, so if we have unresolved issues, if we have behaviors that are, ramping us up, triggering us into this survival biology, we our resources are going to safety, so we don't have the resources to heal, to shift into resilience and robustness. It's so depleting. um, and it befuddles us. We don't have the mental capacity to focus on ourselves when we're completely overwhelmed and distracted and feel terrible. So it's a
Yeah.
kind of a double whammy. We have to unwind that. We have to get in
Yes.
there. And I think the starting place is just holding it with compassion. This is where I'm at.
Mm.
This is how I feel. I'm overwhelmed. This is unsustainable. How can I just rest here and just hold all this in compassion, not even having to know anything about how to begin the process of fixing it? It's just stopping and kind of surrendering to it. Which is,
Yes.
I bet,
Ooh, I
part of
like
what
that.
you're teaching these women when you finally get them off their devices and get them into a
Yeah.
room together.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that there's so much, like when what you said, like what we feel we can heal. If we don't allow ourselves that to have compassion for what we are feeling, and we don't actually give ourselves that like grace to even say what is going on, just to bring awareness, call it out, name it.
No, we're
Um,
ashamed of it.
yes,
It's
yes, and
layered with
then
shame. It's like,
it,
I'm out of
right,
control. That's a
right,
shameful place to be. But we're
yes,
we're all there at some point, you know?
correct,
Yeah,
yeah. And I always say, like, it's going to come out somewhere, and it's
that's
going to
right.
come out eventually.
Yeah,
And it's going to either hurt you or it's going to hurt others.
that's
Sometimes both, right?
that's
Um,
correct.
yeah. And just giving yourself the space to heal, and giving yourself that self compassion, which is so powerful for us as women, because we have this perfectionistic world, that we Instagram world we're supposed to live in, where we're always supposed to look our best and be our best and
That's right.
do our best.
Yeah,
And sometimes, that's not where we heal. We don't heal. We heal in the mess, right? When we are like at the bottom and we're like, okay, I'm going to get real with myself. I'm not okay. And I'm so not okay that I'm afraid to be. I just would rather do.
that's right.
And I'm going to put pause on this, and it's not going to be pretty, but
That's
I'm going
that's
to
right.
like have self-awareness and ask myself the hard questions and sit with the stillness and the
That's right.
uncomfortableness and
Yeah.
see what comes up for me.
And get someone to help you. I mean, we're not
Yes.
meant to do this alone. And whether it's
No.
sharing it with a community or having therapists, or we need people to see us and to
Yes.
know us as these messy, gorgeous humans. And
Yes.
yes, you will one day realize how beautiful it is to be messy, you
Yes.
know? Yeah, we're not meant to do this alone.
No. And if you think about, the nobody heals by themselves.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
You just don't. I mean, you don't walk into the woods and come out healed. You walk into the woods, and maybe with a friend and you take a moment and you share something, or you are honest with a therapist, or you're honest with a coach, or you're honest with your mom or your best friend or whoever your support system is, and they
That's
hold
right.
space for you. Right?
That's right. That's right.
That's how we begin the healing process. And that's why it's so important for us as women, I think, to have community, because if you don't have community, you will think that it is only you something is wrong with you, you are broken, and there's no
That's
healing
right.
for you.
As long as it's a
um
supportive community, because there
yes,
are communities that aren't supportive, that do
correct,
sort of hold that unrealistic standard of perfection.
yeah,
There are, but you know in your gut when you're in an unsupportive community.
yes,
Women know that, and
yes,
and part of the agency is about acknowledging that wisdom, that intuition about what works for them and what doesn't work for them, and then honoring it. Like, get the hell out of that community that doesn't support you and
Yes.
see you,
Yes.
or that friendship or that,
Yes.
family connection that's
Right.
toxic.
Yeah. If you can't, I did a podcast a few weeks ago on if you can't tell your friends when you're really struggling, and you can't tell your friends when you're really celebrating. If you can't celebrate with your friends like something big, those aren't your friends, right?
Correct.
Like
Yes.
your friends should be cheering for you at your highest. You shouldn't feel awkward saying, "Oh, I got this promotion," or "I won this award," or "Oh my gosh, I just found the love of my life," or whatever it is. You should
That's
not
right.
feel awkward, and you should also be able to say, "I am not okay."
That's right.
Right?
100%. Yeah. And I think as women, we do that a lot. We dim our light to
Yes.
protect others from how they're affected by our light. Uh-uh.
Correct. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, we do that. It's so true. And I think there's friends for a season and friends, sometimes we think, "Oh, this is our close friend," but if you're finding yourself having to dim your light, it's probably not as close. It's not a true friendship like you're
That's right.
thinking. Maybe it's just a colleague or an
That's right.
acquaintance.
And
Um,
that's okay. It's okay to walk away from friendships. It's more than okay. It's necessary sometimes.
yes,
It's
absolutely.
painful, but that's what we
Very
need to
painful.
do.
Yes.
Yeah. I've had to
Yes.
do that.
I think that, you know, I love this work that you're doing because I think that it's so easy for us just to add a medicine or do, oh, I know for myself, like I have this shoulder back issue and it only flares when I am exhausted, tired, stressed, going, not eating, not drinking healthy, doing all the things. And I just want to take ibuprofen. I want it to go away. I'm like, I don't want to do all the things. But then it's like, okay, actually, I know what I need to do. I need to go like sit in a hot tub and I need to pray. I need to meditate. I need to do all the
Yes.
things that I know my
Yeah.
soul is craving because my body is the signals, the alarms are going off, So I love that you're addressing this in such an amazing way with people and helping people heal because it is the whole person. We are a whole person. We can't just pop a pill and ignore what's really going on in our life and causing this
That's right.
sickness.
Right. That's right. And to understand that all those symptoms that arise, like yours, the sensations in our bodies, the shifts in energy, I like to think of that as the language of our bodies.
Yes.
that is our bodies telling us what we need.
Yes.
Um, and
Yes.
and sometimes we do need a pill. We're suffering so
Right.
greatly. We need a quick fix as a bridge to doing the deeper work. So I wouldn't throw out the wonders of modern medicine because there is a place, right?
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
but it's a quick fix. It's not a deep root cause upstream
Right.
solution.
Yes. Yes. I love that. I was just talking to a friend of mine the other day. We were having wine and a glass of wine, and she said that she was married for 20 years in a really unhealthy marriage and toxic marriage. And she had migraines and she took medicine. She went to specialists. She did all the things. And she said her mom, who we were talking because her mom had just passed away, said when she was married would say, I don't think it's, I don't think it's that. Like she was
Interesting.
hinting that it was her
Right.
marriage, but she would
Yes.
never come out and just say it. And she said, I finally left that relationship. I'm remarried now. I'm in a great relationship and I haven't had a migraine in like 8 years. And every time
Yes.
I think about my mom, she would be like, I don't think that it's something to do. She took all these allergy tests and everything to see if she was allergic to something. And she's like, my mom knew. My mom knew all along why I was having migraines. She goes, I just didn't want to face it. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like sometimes we have these signals, right? Our body and our brain is giving us these little sacred signals that are like, whoa, 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 red flag. red flag. And it's so easy for us just to ignore that and just keep going and
Yes.
keep breathing in the toxic fumes, or keep being surrounding ourselves with toxicity, and we're getting toxic ourselves. We're dying from it. We have to remove ourselves. So
Right.
I
That's
love
right.
this. And I want to thank you for coming on. Can you tell our listeners, how can they follow you, read your book, hear more about you?
Well, my new book is called Unbroken, Reclaim Your Wholeness, and it launches on 11/11/25. All the
Amazing.
major booksellers. I'm incredibly proud of that book. It's like the culmination of my life's work, and
Oh,
maybe
I
the
love
beginning
that.
of a new chapter. And then my website is my hub, www.karynshanksmd.com.
I love it. And you've got great resources on there for people who are really struggling with complex trauma, lacking that self compassion. You've got lots of different programs and offerings. So check out her website. And I hope that we gave you some encouragement today, some education today, to really take time for yourself and to be aware of what your body is telling you, and that having the self agency to feel so you can heal is the first step, as Dr. Shanks told us today. So thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.